What's going on, everybody? Brandon London here. This is your Giants, New York Post, Blue Rush post-game live show. Again, I'm Brandon London. We've got our longtime Giants. How do I even like intro you, Jared? You do everything for the Post. You cover Jets, Giants, boxing, everything. Jared Schwartz is in the building with us again. I guess the Giants just lost 35-14 to the Baltimore Ravens. Some say it's expected. Some say they tried to put up as much of a fight as they can with being down so many starters, so many guys to where you're paying a lot of money to play. Didn't play in this game for obvious reasons. So whether it be injury or maybe they're just shutting them down for the season. And that kind of showed today, Jared. The Giants tried to give as much as they could early. They got the early turnover. Brian Dable calls for the 4th and 1 tush push with Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito. They didn't get it, and then it just all kind of unraveled after that. I feel like. Talk to me, man. Where do you want to go with this one first?
I mean, I remember, in the lead up to this game, I saw the spread and it was 17 points, and I thought, I mean, that you don't see many spreads for a team playing at home, to be
Yeah.
a 17-point underdogs. But I looked at that and I thought that's not even enough. That doesn't even seem like that's actually being generous to the Giants a little bit, and that's exactly what played out. And what the scariest part to me was about today, it didn't even feel like the Ravens got out of second gear. It didn't even feel like Lamar Jackson broke a sweat today. I mean, 20, completed 20 of 25 passes, 290 yards, 5 touchdowns. It didn't even seem like he really kicked into high gear even. He added 65 rushing yards on the ground. It seemed like they were playing with their foot a little bit, and they ended up winning by 21 points, which that's the scary part. The Giants seemed like they played hard. I mean, at the end of the game, it seemed like they were playing hard even. The rate and it ended up being a 20-point loss. So it's that's what is most striking is the Ravens seem like it was natural. It was they came into the Giants' backyard. Nothing was uncomfortable about it for them, and they walk away with an easy win going back to Baltimore. It's so easy for these other teams coming into MetLife Stadium.
You said something, and I probably should have just stopped you there. I didn't want to be rude to cut you off, but I probably should have just stopped you there because we had to manage our expectations walking into this game. And you said they played hard. And for you to be a really good media piece for the New York Post, and we watch these teams, you cover Giants, Jets. We know what the Giants are going through right now. We know it's an uphill climb for them to beat the Saints, let alone the 8-5 or now 9-5 Baltimore Ravens with 2 guys in the 99 club and Madden on their offense. But like you said, they played hard, and that's all we can evaluate right now when it comes to a guy like Brian Dable or a guy like GM Joe Shane trying to get people to trying to get the heat off of them. Everyone's being evaluated right now, from the third string corner that had to play today to the head coach to the GM. So when you're faced with these games and you had some diehard fans there, people were still getting up out of their seats, trying to get loud on third down. It was just unfortunate because it was like the Ravens, you converted another one. But at the end of the day, when we're at this piece right now, there are scouts who are you got, the Giant scouting department. A lot of them are were on the road when, before the college football season ended, but a lot of them are back now and they're in house.
Yeah.
And I'm evaluating Micah McFadden. I'm evaluating Casey Rogers. I'm evaluating Brian Burns. You're evaluating these guys, and they've got the binoculars, and you're looking at these guys who's still fighting. Fans see that as well. And I wish we had more sexy stuff to talk about, but that's just where we are right now, especially going up against a Ravens team, again, has the most spectacular quarterback in football. I'm not going to say the best, but he is dynamic. He is spectacular. running back wise. They've got everything you want in terms of what we want in a Giants offense on their offense. So I think the defense tried to hold up as much as they could. It's just you're shorthanded, man. You got the Ravens ones going up against the Giants practice roster on defense. And they tried to do what they could do, man. The coaches tried to coach their butts off, but at the end of the day, you got a great team versus a lack of talent, and that's gonna hurt. And that's why the 35-14, it tells you.
To your point about the fighting, and that's one of the things we watch for now, and everybody's being evaluated is who's fighting, who's still playing hard, is who is still worthy of earning playing time for next year and so forth. Malik Neighbors catches that touchdown pass at the end, and he was going back and forth with their cornerbacks a little bit. I mean, not much more than just normal cornerback receiver trash talk, but that's at least something. That's fire. That's when you're getting blown out and there's not much, fire in the team around you, at least that's some fire. But then he scores that touchdown. He kind of, celebrated a little bit. And tell me if I'm being harsh, but it almost felt a little sad. Like it felt like the Giants were celebrating. I saw Daniel Ballinger was going down the field, putting his hands up and that cut it to 35-14 from 35-7. And it's good. Like, it's nice to see that they're still fighting. It's nice to see because Neighbors was checked, I think, earlier in the game for an injury. He's certainly not packing it in here in his rookie year. He's not going golfing. He's playing hard. So that's nice to see. But then this emotion crept over me. Like it almost felt like charity points. The Ravens had already pulled their starters. They'd already put Josh Johnson in quarterback. I think they had pulled most of their defensive starters. Neighbors scores a touchdown, celebrates. It's nice, but part of me also felt like it's like when you're playing Little League and they take, and they call off the dogs and they hit the ball to the wall. And then instead of running around the bases, they just go, one base at a time. And it's like, we're just finishing out the clock here and we're just waiting for the final result. I mean, we knew the end result pretty quickly. Like you said, there was the fumble. They got to pick up the fumble, but pretty quickly this game was out of reach. And it didn't feel it wasn't competitive, and it felt a little sad at the end when he scored, and I might be being harsh, but it felt like wow, like I don't know how to describe it. It felt it's like we're celebrating him playing hard at the end, and the Ravens starters are on the bench looking ahead to next week already.
And you're allowed to say that, man. Like, there's no charity cases here. This is professional football. We're talking about the New York football freaking Giants, 100 seasons. You got guys like Lawrence Taylor, Michael Strahan, Justin Tuck. You've had dogs walk through this building. You've got guys like Amani Toomer, Plaxico Burress, even Odell. You've had dogs walk through this organization. We talk about the Giants legends, the top 100 pit bulls, probably a couple German shepherds. Amani Toomer's a German shepherd or whatever, shout out to Toombs. But I mean, fan base, they're used, especially the older generation, you're used to a type of football that hard-nosed, hardcore football that's being played. So when you say something like, oh man, it's almost sad that this is where it is right now, it's okay, bro. Like, it's okay for you to say that, because I guarantee if you're, like you said, you saw Daniel Bellinger get hyped, you saw Malik do his dance, they know. But at the same time, Malik Neighbors is a core piece. He's just got to, we should have got excited, just as excited as Daniel Bellinger when Malik scored, because we're like, okay, this is a guy we're going to have to talk about. You're going to have to write about later on. Now, do they get him a quarterback to be able to really unlock how good a Malik Neighbors is? Do you get an offensive line to be able to protect that quarterback so he can unlock a Malik Neighbors? Those are things we got to worry about. But if we're going to take away some sort of positive from this game, we like to see, like you said, guys didn't back down. Guys are still playing hard. Malik Neighbors got, somewhat got his rocks off a little bit. And at the end of the day, it's what it is. The Giants are what they are at 2-12.
And those are the things that you still watch for. is Tyrone Tracy a piece to go forward with? And those are the guys that you want to hope that are not getting demoralized, and you want to see that fight, and you want to see that they're still playing, and you don't want to see their confidence tank. There's a habit of winning. There's muscle memory in winning and being competitive, and they've taken a lot of losses already in their young career, and you want to see Malik Neighbors not get demoralized. You want to see John Michael Schmitz not get demoralized and show that maybe he can be your center going forward. And then this is a young team, and especially now with a lot of these injuries, to the veterans, there's a lot of young players now playing for next year and playing for their future. So that's one thing to watch. But other than that, it's bleak.
True North 30. We're going to go to the comments now. We definitely got to rock with the comments, because we got to thank you guys for rocking with us, especially after a game like this. It's 2-11. You can go anywhere for your Giants content right now, but you're rocking with Blue Rush for the New York Post Sports. Can we just agree that they are tanking? I say it all the time. They could be. It could be a form of tanking, yes. Allowing a lot of guys to go on IR. It's like you can come in and be like, yo, my elbow hurts. Well, we need you for the next season and the seasons after. Let's make sure we don't make this elbow any worse. We're going to shut you down for the season. And now you got your backups back up in the game. So to some people, yes, that looks like tanking. But at the same time, it's protecting your asset. And then number two, being able to evaluate a possible future asset. So right now, a lot of people are getting what they want.
I think that's the biggest point. They're not trying to lose, but we've seen all these injuries. I mean, they keep just stacking up, and stacking up. There's a lot of cases of guys that look, if they were in the Ravens situation, if they were 8-5, playing for a playoff push, they could get take a painkiller and play and then play hurt, but there's no reason to do that now. So
not you advocating for painkillers. All right. Is you Brett Favre's trainer? Okay.
Or whatever right. the trainer properly prescribes them in the locker room. But it's not tanking overtly, but it's also this is what you get at this point in the season. The injuries just start flowing, and little injuries that were maybe not covered up, but guys just played through early in the year now don't want to play through and now want to get treatment and don't want to practice, and now it's cold and it's windy and during the week. Now when I have a nagging ankle injury, I don't want to practice on Wednesday, and we've seen these guys, a couple of guys miss practice and also play. So it's, this is what you get when you're 2-11 at this point in the season. You're 2-12 actually.
At the end of the day, with all that going on, this is for Brian Burns. Brian Burns, I don't know, Spider-Man, I don't know if you watch Blue Rush, our post-game live show for the New York Post. You've been on that injury report for a long time, and you still out there busting your butt for maybe it's in some incentive base. Maybe it's that you've been on a team like this before with the Carolina Panthers, and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to play my butt off. But those are core pieces. Again, Jared, like those are the pieces that we want to watch. And it's like, all right, tell me if I'm wrong. And before we get on to talking about Shedeur and the draft and all that, tell me like if I'm wrong. Obviously, I'm the in-game MC. Like I don't even dress like this during the game. This is for the post-game show. But are you watching this? Are you watching this team as a team or individually? Like, are you kind of watching the Giants like it's a fantasy roster almost for your, all right, I want to start this guy next year. I want to keep this piece. How are you watching these games now, knowing that they're not playing for anything but a draft spot?
I mean, that's a good question. I'm actually writing for tomorrow that the easy thing, and you mentioned Shedeur and Cam Ward, and it's easy to make the connection. They're here for the Heisman Trophy. They're in New York City. We all saw the video of Neighbors and Shedeur throwing. It's easy to look at Lamar and be like, Shedeur can be our Lamar. Cam Ward can be our Lamar. I know Lamar wasn't a high first-round pick, but just to see Lamar, how great he was today and be like, okay, we're picking first or second. We can pick a quarterback. He can be great and fix everything. But, I'm writing for tomorrow. the gap is so much more. The gap today was so much more than just Lamar Jackson. The gap between the Giants and the Ravens is so much more than just Lamar Jackson. It's throughout the roster. It's on the offensive line. It's in the trenches. It's in the skill groups. It's in play calling. It's in so many different things. And it's easy to look at Shedeur and be like, oh, he'll fix everything. There's a big gap between a contender like the Ravens were today and the Giants. And so when you ask, what do you look at? I'm looking for a team. I'm looking for cohesion. I'm looking for something to prove that there is light at the end of this tunnel, that this is a project, that this is a group that should stay together and you want to build around. And right now, I'm only see a couple of individual bright spots. Tyrone Tracy, bright spot.
I would say that's hard though, man, because like if you look at today's Giants roster, this team would get, even though let's be honest, Giants not a good football team right there. This team would have gotten beat by the Giants team that beat the Browns by 50 points.
Yeah,
because they had healthy guys on. It was a healthier Giants roster that was only losing games by one possession, outside of that Vikings game at first and then the Cowboys game. So I know exactly what you're saying. And it's just one of those things to where we're all put in a position to where we're trying to reach by trying to find not only content about this team, positive content, because I think everyone's just like, all right, what else is there left to bash this team on? Like they just are what they are. And I imagine
it's not even interesting to criticize them anymore because we know
it's lazy. So it's funny, we've been talking about Shedeur Sanders, we talked about Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, all those guys were here in New York over the weekend, and a lot of Giants fans got excited. Obviously, with the Shedeur Sanders, everything's going to be hyped because that's part of his brand. But there's two things. Shedeur getting announced on Celebrity Row at the Knicks-Hawks game. I saw fans stand up. It's like me when I walk in. It's like me when I walk into the bagel shop. People stand up. But then we saw
not the gym, the bagel store.
Not the gym, guys. The bagel store. Then we saw the produced, staged, scripted video of he and Malik thrown soft toss, 2 passes. And then everybody's like, oh, they're getting their chemistry ready. Yeah, in the street, they're running routes in the street, guys. They're getting ready for 2025. Like, come on. But this is where we are when it comes to everything. And it is what it is. So now we look ahead a little bit. We got about 3 to 5 to talk about this, Jarrett. So after today, Giants are 2-12 right now.
Yep.
Are you? And again, I hate the T word. It's a 4-letter word. But are you able to get through these next 3 to 4 games and those be losses because you want them to be in the best position possible?
Yeah. I mean, I hate the tanking word more than anybody. And I've been saying for weeks on this post-game show that you can't just sim. You can't just – it's not Madden where you can just simulate and you can just hit simulate, and then 5 weeks later we get to the draft and then we're there. We have to go through each one of these weeks and we have to keep doing it. We can't just simulate to the end. So that's why, I hate the tanking word. But, couple weeks left now, it's hard not to just look at the draft and look at whether you like Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward or not, because you want them to be in the best position. Travis Hunter wins Heisman. If you don't like a Shedeur Sanders, you don't like a Cam Ward. I mean, Lamar Jackson is an example that the top quarterbacks in every draft aren't always the best. The guys that we think are flawed coming out sometimes are the best, or sometimes they are flawed, but the teams that know how to accentuate their strengths, like the Ravens, make it work. So yeah, I mean, it's I want them to be in the best place, they can be. And at this point, that would be losing. And I think at this point, the decisions about Joe Shane and Brian Daboll probably aren't hinging on these last 4 games. They're probably bigger picture decisions. Unless something goes absolutely crazy in these last couple of games, though that won't, dictate their future. So, yeah,
well, you kind of just gave them a vote of confidence earlier when you said that players were still playing hard. I think in this situation, if you're
we haven't mentioned it before, but there was another plane today with another banner.
That's right. Go ahead. We can talk about that.
And today's was interesting because it was more forceful than last week's. Last week's was Mr. Mara. It was actually pretty respectful. Mr. Mara, please fix this dumpster. They call it a dumpster fire, but it said, please fix this dumpster fire. But there was no clear direction. It didn't say fire anybody, do this, do that. It just said it was actually trusting Mara to fix this. This week it was, I think, Mr. Mara, enough is enough. Fire everyone. So that is a clear directive. That is a clear, look, that's one person's sentiment. That's one person who bought this plane sentiment. But you hope that the decision isn't just made because of this. That the decision isn't just made because one fan is being aggressive and flying this plane. But this is another home loss. I think they have one more home game, right?
Yep.
There's just apathy in the stadium. As we said before, it's not even interesting to criticize them. There's fans with paper bags on their head, and it's just kind of funny. They go there, they play badly, they lose, we laugh about it, and they go home. There's apathy, which is almost worse. That means fans are starting to not care, which is almost worse. And
I think one thing, because it's like a yin and a yang, Jared. Like it's a yin and a yang when people ask me all the time, where it's like, Brendan, you're with the fans, you deal with fan engagement. What are the fans saying? It's almost like half of them are like, I'm tired of this bleep. Get rid of everybody. Even the MC, I'm like, even me, like, chill. But like half of them are like, the giant way isn't working. It hasn't for a long time. Modernize the game, XYZ, da 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 da. Get rid of everybody. Then the other half is really like, well, these guys weren't able to draft their quarterback that they wanted. They weren't able to. They had Daniel Jones stuck down their throat, and it's almost like they have some sort of empathy for them being a victim of their success in that first year, because it's almost you coming and bringing all this hope in 2022 when you knew you had holes, when you knew you were cash strapped because of the salary cap.
It almost makes it worse now.
They're doing their job of winning, but then the seasons have regressed since then. So it's so hard to evaluate the coaching staff, almost the GM, the coaching staff, because you can be like, well, this draft, Evan Neal didn't work out. Well, but yeah, Malik Neighbors is going to be a guy. Oh, well, Cordell Flott or Azudu didn't work out. Yeah, well, Tyrone Tracy Jr., minus, some of these late fumbles that he's had, looks like he's going to be a RB 1.5 for the future, So it's like, it just depends on what you want to say, what your narrative is about this coaching staff and this GM. But at the end of the day, the Saquon thing is always going to hurt them. Something has to happen. Something big has to happen so people can forget about the Saquon thing and be like, you know what? In Joe Shane, we trust.
And to that point, in the Joe Shane we trust and evaluating this regime and stuff, to get excited about a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward, you have to believe that this regime is capable of nurturing a Shedeur Sanders and a Cam Ward and surrounding a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward with talent, and the coach bringing the best out of it, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. It's like what I'm writing for tomorrow. The Ravens, like Lamar Jackson is obviously great, but you don't think he's benefited from how great the environment the Ravens have put around him, the head coaching, the weapons, the offensive line, the scheme around his running strengths, giving him a running back like Derrick Henry. I mean, we know Lamar Jackson is great, but he's also made greater by what's around him. So,
and let me add to that. They went and got Deontay Johnson, even though they're having a problem with him. They went to get him another weapon. So
Yes.
keep going. I'm about to cut you off.
But like, to get excited about a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward, you have to have belief that a Brian Dable and a Joe Shane are capable of giving him the offensive line like the Ravens did, and the weapons like a Zay Flowers like the Ravens did, and a defense like the Ravens have, and a running back like the Giants kind of walk out their door. So that's the decision that they have to make is, yes, hopefully a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward is their next Lamar Jackson, but you have to also help cultivate the next Lamar Jackson. And is this regime capable of doing that?
Yeah. I mean, I would say they have no choice, but we have to wait and see until, the offseason to see where things go when it comes to what Mr. Mara decides. Again, he said that he kind of gave this regime a stay of execution, but again, like people say, they throw it in my face. Yeah, he said the same thing about Joe Judge as well. Luckily, we haven't seen any QB sneaks from the 1 yard line going out. I think Tim Boyle came in and tried to play as well as he could. And I think that it helped Brian Dable a little bit, because it's like, here I am. I got this quarterback 3 weeks ago, and he was able to still come in and understand the offense. So I'm able to get guys ready to be a professional and step in and do their job. But if I can do that with Tim Boyle, imagine what I can do with Shedeur or Cam Ward. That's how I feel like Brian Dable feels.
And I think the final thought is just, but like, that is the problem. That's what we're talking about. That's what the floor is. The good takeaway from this game is Tim Boyle coming in for like 3 quarters and throwing for 123 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Like, like it's that was kind of nice. Like he looked pretty good.
I see what you did there. Yeah,
like it was like Tim Boyle actually looked a little better than I thought. It was actually decent, and it was good that Dable made him look like a professional. But that is a good point is the problem.
Yeah. And it is what it is. Well, at 2-12, the Giants go on the road. Get up out of here. Good riddance. Go on the road. Go down to Atlanta. Beat the Falcons. Get you some hot wings. Maybe, you know what? Go to Magic City. Go to the strip club. I don't care. Go do what you got to do. Just go get the W at this point right now. But then people are going to be like, wow, we didn't want that win. It was a meaningless win. So it's a darn if you do, darn if you don't right now. But all jokes aside, at least they're still fighting. We can agree that no one's laid it down right now. There's no golf clubs in the locker room. So you guys can take that how you want. Again, we're all raged out here when it comes. Trust me, I work in, I'm here all day, that sort of thing. So thank you guys for rocking with us and checking out our Blue Rush post-game live show for the New York Post Sports. That's Jared Schwartz. I'm Brandon London. We'll catch you guys